This is Andy Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Paul Smith Jr. over Zoom. Paul, it's good to see you. Know you've been on the school run just. So how are you?
Yeah,
How's the family doing?
I'm good, thanks, mate. All good. You okay?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. Thanks. It's good to catch up. And speaking of your children, your son really seems to be stirring up a bit of noise in the boxing world now. How have you found allowing him to enter the boxing world and certainly his amateur progress? I've heard a few good things about him.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's national champion. He's boxing for England. He's in and around on the England setup and going up to Sheffield on the GB things. He's just had an operation on Tuesday on his tendon in his hand. He's had a problem for a while. He's been doing just one-handed stuff. There's a tendon and a cover that covers over your knuckle. He had two big tears in there. Mike Hayton operated on him. He's the best, obviously, and he's when he's opened up, he's found another tear inside, so he's fixed them both. He's going to be out for a while now, probably 10 to 12 weeks, no punching, and then he'll get back in probably just in time for the NBCs at the end of the year, which he won last year, and this will be a senior one though, and then senior ABAs next year, and try and really make a go of it in the seniors and see if he can win a senior ABA title, box for England, get on a GB team or the GB setup, which is that they're the goals temporarily for him, and then long term he wants to turn pro.
Paul, obviously with yourself and your brothers and everything you guys have been through in the sport, whether it been good things or bad things, there's nobody, no family better place to be able to help him, give him advice and guide him in his career. When the time comes and he's at a certain level, how do you want to kind of stay involved? Do you want to be kind of at the forefront of it, whether we do see some fathers and sons go, or are you wary of how that might affect your personal relationship?
To be honest with you, I do bits with him now. I didn't really do anything with him in the juniors or the schoolboys. Now he's a senior. He comes in and he trains in the day with either me or with our Stephen, or he's certainly not short of trainers or offers for training or people who he can lean on and rely on and ask for advice from. He's done bits with all of us. He's trained in the gym alongside Liam and Callum. He does pads regularly with Stephen, who's brought him on a lot, and the same with myself now as well. Is helping him, but it's up to him. It's entirely up to him. It's his career. He knows he's got, without being big-headed, sort of the best advice around him from people who've been through the game and understand the game, and people more importantly who are like him, who box the same way or a similar way, or from the same place, similar places, obviously, and same family. He's watched everything we've done. He's been around some of the big fights himself and been there in the dressing room and being part of it. And he's lucky for that, and I do say that to him, and he knows that. He's aware of that. That he's very lucky that he's got to experience a lot of things that he's experienced and been in the places that he's been in, or had conversations with some of the great fighters in this country and around the world through his dad and his uncles being professionals themselves. Like, he's in the gym most of the time, and Buddy McGee to take him on the pads, and he knows he's lucky to get that. Also, fortunate, and all, but also he understands that he'll work hard and really put it 100% in. So his attitude's spot on. Whether I'd want to cross that line from being dad to trainer is another thing. But obviously, if he wants me to train him, then I will. If he wants Stephen to train him, then Stephen will, I'm sure. And whatever he needs, he's certainly got all that help around him. You never know what Liam McCallum are going to do by the time he turns. Probably could be involved in it himself. But Stephen's established himself and is still establishing himself as a very, very good trainer. I've just started on the being a trainer road. So I'm enjoying it, and I know Stephen's loving it, and he's really found his groove and got his mojo back, so to speak. But there's a lot to offer from all of us, I think, from the experience and the experience that we've got, the things that we've seen and places that we've been and things that we've done and the people that we've worked with also in the past.
How have you found the training front in terms of starting to train fighters now and managing fighters? Because we've had conversations in the past, and you've always said that at those moments in your life that the timing wasn't right, you had a lot going on, whereas now you seem to be a bit more settled with it, so you can afford to do it. So how have you found adjusting to life as a trainer?
Good, I'm enjoying it. It was sort of a case of I was waiting for sort of everything to be perfect, and I know my brother Stephen was doing this also, and I was managing a couple of kids. I said, look, I'm gonna, I think you should train them and just be based at the Rotunda or Four Corners or any gym in the city that we go to or we train in, and we're welcomed in. And I've been going in Four Corners training myself and doing little bits of weighting there, or making an effort to train myself and trying to train myself. But getting in there and John Gillies who owns it's a lovely lad. He's been with me for since we were kids, 13, 14 years of age, knocking about with each other on County Road, going on lads' holidays and that. And then obviously now he's got a really good gym, and it's a buzzing gym. It's full of all top MMA fighters and UFC lads who are in the UFC and PFL, and they're all based downstairs. And then there's pros in there. And he trains a good few pros himself. He's got a little bustling stable. Stephen's got a good little stable. But John's of the attitude of more the merrier, and we can all help each other and learn off each other and pick up things off each other. And you know, I love that type of training. I've been around too many trainers in the past who were terrified of anyone finding out the methods or anyone knowing what they're doing or anyone trying to pad the fighters or help the fighters. And that it's like if you're that insecure, I think it's the wrong game for you. You know, if you're that insecure to worry about what people might see from you, then maybe you're not doing the right things yourself. Or people, the way Stephen has took to it, and the way I train, the way I've got zero experience now being a number one on the top in the corner and training a fighter from the first week of camp right the way through to get them in the ring. But I've been in the corner with the likes of Buddy McGirt, Billy Graham. I've been in helping all Joe Gallagher, all good top trainers from this country, America, around the world, and involved in fights with my brothers, with fights with Hatton, with Macklin, other people back in the day, Crawler, Quigg, all the lads that have helped out in the corner and girls. And the experience is obviously there, what you pick up along the way, but also you have to understand boxing. And it's not sort of a dig, but I'm watching a lot of trainers around the world and in this country, and I'm thinking, I don't think you've got a clue what you're doing, or you're winging it, or you're going to get this kid hurt, or the methods. I just don't understand it. And maybe I'm old school. Maybe I've still got the same sort of attitude as the likes of Buddy McGirt, who thinks probably the best out there, and the best I've ever sort of worked with or been guided by his brain on boxing, his attitude to boxing, it's common sense. And my old amateur coaches in the Rotunda, Jimmy Albo, Paul Walmsley, all coaches who are really great. Most coaches that I've worked with who are really great, it's common sense. And it's just, why take four steps when you can do it in one? Why try and do that? Buddy's favourite saying is, how's that going to help him win a fight? And you see all these people nowadays with the foam noodles or they're just it's like it's a bit of a comedy sketch at the minute, but you see them, you have to ask yourself, how's that going to help him win the fight or here win the fight? And not much has changed in boxing in the last 50, 75 years, but these methods seem to be changing now. I get strength and conditioning, I get, we know a lot more about science and the body and nutrition and about all the mobility stuff, plyometric stuff, stretching, yoga, things like that. I'm all for all that. That's a bonus that's going to help fighters, but the boxing game itself hasn't really changed that much in all these years, but these training methods are just off the scale. And I think just keeping things simple. There's no magic potion. There's nothing in the cupboard. There's nothing under the carpet. It's just good work, working on the basics, doing the basics well, tactically getting it right, technically getting it right. You've got to have the standards. You've got to be tough. You've got to be fit game. You've got to have discipline. You've got to be, dedicated. They all go without saying, but then the rest of the stuff that you get added to you by a good trainer, the trainer's got to know what they're doing. I believe, and a lot of them didn't. So I've always wanted to do it. I just didn't want to be doing it recently, and it's took probably 6, 7 years since I retired to actually think, I want to actually give me time now in the gym. I've had my time sitting in a coffee shop, and I've had my time sitting around relaxing, and I want to. Like the management, I love. I still love that. That's busy on the phone, but it's not busy in the gym, giving you actual time. So I'm ready for this now, and I'm in the gym, and I'm really enjoying it now.
Away from yourself, but sticking with theme of training and with Stephen, um, you know, I speak to plenty of people in boxing as do you, Paul, and I'm yet to come across anybody who said a bad word about Stephen as a trainer. Sometimes you have like the more say high profile trainers who some might like, some might dislike, some might not think they're doing very well with a fighter, and so on. But I haven't actually had that yet with Stephen. Why do you feel like he's certainly starting to not just come to grips with training, but building up a very good reputation for himself within inside the sport as a trainer?
Because he knows the stuff. Now, you won't get many people saying bad words about him because if you know Stephen and you know him inside out and you know what he's like as a person, there's nothing to say that's bad about him. It is what it is. A lot of people have reputations, and I've certainly got ones. A lot of people that don't like me who've never met me, and it doesn't really bother me. I really don't give a shit, to be honest with you. But with Stephen, like, it's not that he'd take offense to that. He doesn't care himself, but you'd have to be pretty, you know, bitter to not like Stephen if you've never met him, because when you do meet him, you know exactly what he's like, as you do with most people like us, and just sort of be nice and get on with everyone, but don't be too scared to tell someone where to go as well if you don't like what you're getting back off them, and that's Stephen's very much of that. But he's a diamond. He's my brother, obviously he's my kid brother, and I love him dearly, and there's not many that will dislike him. But as a coach, he knows his stuff. He's been brought up the right way in boxing. He's learned boxing in the right place from the right people, and he's passing on, replicating what we, and most people in that Rotunda gym learned. And then obviously in the pro game, learning off coaches like Georgie Vaughan, or as you say, the likes of Buddy Nat Stephen with Joe Gallagher and the lads in the gym. And sometimes as well, and I think Stephen will admit to this as well, in the end of it, it's not just the trainer, it's actually the gym around you, and the people that are in there with you, the fighters that are in there with you as well. There's a lot of trainers out there at the moment who've got a bustle and stable, and the stable's really busy and packed full of talent, and a fighter's not going there then just for the fight, for the coach. They're going there to train alongside those fighters as well, because they can learn and improve and develop and rise like them as well. And the old saying, you are who you surround yourself with. If you go in the gym every day with good fighters and top fighters and world champions, then you've got a great chance of becoming one yourself, because that's your standards. Your standards are naturally high. I got to experience a little bit of that today with Stephen, where a young fighter who's just turned pro with me, Liv Holmes. She's 8-time national champion, 2-time senior ABA champion. She's been on GB for the last 3 years. She's a brilliant amateur fighter. She's now turning pro, and she's in the ring today helping Chantel out. Chantel Cameron, sparring with Chantel Cameron. She hasn't had a pro fight yet, but if she can be in the gym constantly learning off her and seeing her now she's training, watching the stuff Stephen's doing with her, they're all going to really improve and get better as fighters, and Stephen as a trainer also. And it's nice as a pro coach to pass on what you've got, but it's also better to work with quality fighters, and the better the fighter that you work with, the better I feel will come out of you also. And listen, it could be the other way around. If the fighter's not as good and needs a lot more help, then that will show you your colours as a trainer as well. But we see a lot of coaches out there getting credit, and rightly so, getting credit for the work that they do with the very top elite fighters. But sometimes it's the fighters on the lower level. If you can get the best out of them, that makes you, in my opinion, a really good trainer as well. But it's all just like boxing and just like judging and just like fight. It's all on your opinion. And there's a lot of trainers out there who don't know what they do in the gym behind the closed doors, and they've got good reputations. You like Shane McGuigan. I think he's a very good trainer. Say what you like about him. I think he's a really good trainer, but I've never actually seen him in the gym, what he does, apart from what we see on TV. Now, that might be totally different than what we're seeing. Adam Bood, the same. I like Adam. I've always got on with Adam. I think he's a very good trainer, but I've never actually sat in on a session to watch all the stuff he does. I only see what I see on TV, on clips, on social media, and what I see looks really well. But
Sorry to
I
interrupt
also
you,
listen.
Paul, as well. Is that something
Yeah,
you
no
still
worries.
want to do from your own perspective and to learn, or do you feel like at this stage in your life career you've done it all, you've seen it, or you wouldn't need
Oh,
to do that?
no, not at all. See, the thing, like I have seen a lot. I've been around a lot, but I've got so much to learn as a coach as well, and I think I know what to do. I think I've got enough up there to get by. But you can never stop learning as a fighter or a trainer, and some of the trainers out there think they know it all, but you can never stop learning and being around other trainers. This is why I say, like, so many trainers is like closed books and closed shops. And I love the wild card in the States. I love it in LA because for that reason, everyone's in there. There's all different trainers all around. They're all sparring, working together. They're getting the best out of each other. And they go away back to their own gyms, finish the camp off and fight. Eventually, they might fight and they've sparred each other. But how many times do we see that anyway? In Britain, there's only so many of a top level of fighter that can work with each other and help each other. And eventually, they're probably going to fight. There was a few kids that I fought, and I'd already sparred with them and already shared the ring with them, either as amateur or pro on the England setup or as a professional sparring and traveling around the gyms. But yeah, you can. I'm confident enough and secure enough in myself to show what I do in public for anyone to see, because it's nothing special. That's the thing with boxing, and that's the thing with training. I believe being a good trainer, there's no magic potion. There's no quick fix or no like secret behind the door. What you don't tell anyone. It's good solid graft. It's good hard work, getting the fighter as fit as you can, but more importantly, being tactically switched on, technically very good. You can't let them get away with too many faults, I believe. And we see so many faults, and it leads to either a devastating knockout or it leads to a loss where someone's just got the number because the other fighter studied for them and knows the faults and capitalized on their faults. So it's like anything in boxing. As a trainer, also I want to I'll do a lot more of what I should have done more of, I didn't do enough of in the amateurs. I love our Callum's technique and his style and how as non-punching hands, great. Mine swayed a little bit too much. I was too eager sometimes, and I want to sort of knock that out of the fighters that I'm working with, but also I want to keep that aggression. So listen, this we'd be here all day talking about it, but to answer your question, I don't think any fighter or any trainer, especially, can ever stop learning. And we see trainers in the game for so long into the 50s, 60s, 70s, and you can still pick up things as you go. I think you'd be quite ignorant to think that you've cracked it all straight away just because you've got a lot of experience.
Paul, the last time I saw you in person, I think it was the night of Eubank Ben. Obviously, he was there for Liam. Didn't go his way on the night. I think the general consensus for most was he just seemed to kind of age quite quickly overnight going into that fight. What do you make of it now? You've had a bit of time to reflect as a team, and what do you think's next for Liam? I've seen him mention that he could still continue, but he'd need a fight which would get the juices flowing.
Yeah, I think he's just, he's obviously done an interview saying that, and he's obviously going to be. It's not nice when you feel or look or appear to be your age in boxing, and it's that with me in a fight. I could see everything that I needed to do. I just couldn't pull the trigger. I was awful in my last fight, and I lost, and I lost clearly. And I'd have beat him, I think, a year earlier, 2 years earlier. I'd have definitely beat him, but age beats us all, and it's up to Liam what he wants to do. But I think he's only got a short window of opportunity here to get something off it that would get him going again, and that would get him in there for maybe one last fight. But the fact that he's talking and we're talking that maybe it will just be one last fight because we can't see it being one more, then that'll get you on the road to getting another title or another big fight with someone else. So it would just probably be one fight. And he's had a phenomenal career. He's had an unbelievable career for as I say, us, kids as a family, brothers growing up in Liverpool thinking, I want to be the next world champion because we hadn't had one since Paul Hodgkinson. And then he was the first one. And then obviously Callum's followed him. Me and Stephen came short, and the likes of Bellew, Tash, all the others who've won titles from this city. And now the city is well and truly firmly back on the map. And I think he started the ball rolling with that first world title. So he's got a lot to be proud about. He's never shirked a fight, never shied away from a fight. He's topped the bill all over the world in the States plenty of times. And it's a career to definitely be proud of. If that's the last one now, if it's not, it might be one more. But I can't see it being, anything sort of on a blockbuster scale. As we say, that's the way he's talking, that's the way we're talking. But very proud of him. Obviously, probably don't tell him enough how proud of him I am, and I think he knows deep down we all are really proud of him. He's had an unbelievable career.
In terms of Callum, obviously we've seen a lot of reports. Eddie and Frank Smith have been vocal about a potential David Benavidez fight. Seen rumours, and Jose Benavidez Senior, he's mentioned it. He said that one of Smith Yard for Benavidez next. So what can you tell me? Do you feel like there's movement, there's traction there for a Benavidez fight?
There's definitely an appetite there. There's definitely been some conversations, but I'm like you. When you said Liam then and like the team, I'm part of the team as in I'm his brother, and I help him out in the corner. The same with Callum. I go in the corner to help him with Buddy. But Buddy's his coach, and he's self-managed. Callum's self-managed. He does all his own sort of negotiations, and it's obviously you know he'll come to us, the other three brothers, for a cup of tea and a coffee to try and make the final decision just for advice. But I don't think it would matter what we told him as such as it's not gospel. If I say fight him and not him, he's not going to listen. He's going to take that advice on board, but he's going to make his own decision. He's his own boss. He's his own man, and as I say, he's his own manager. So the buck stops with him. But I think he'll know what the three of us are offering, advising, and suggesting, and what we think would be best for him, as brothers and as again boxing people. But ultimately, the buck stops with him. So I haven't heard too much. I'm not sure what's happening with either Yard or Benavidez, but I think obviously, and I know that there's been some talks between probably both the parties or the three parties on what possible fight will be. But I think he'll be out in early autumn, August, September, October.
How tough of a challenge do you see the potential David Benavidez fight, and what advantages do you feel like Callum would have over him if a deal could be reached and we were to see the pair of them share the ring?
Obviously, listen, he's a quality fighter. He's unbelievable. His record speaks for itself, and he's a very exciting fighter to watch. But that would also make a very exciting fight with Callum because Callum is everything was what I've said there, apart from being unbeaten. I'm Mexican. He's a brilliant fighter, and Mexican heritage, should I say? He's a brilliant fighter himself, and he fights like a Mexican, Callum. So it's not like he's just 6'3.5", 6'4", a boxer on the back foot and quite negative. He loves going the body more than anyone. You know, the way he fights and how he fights, his style is very much fan friendly, and I can't see anything but a fight gelling, easily between Benavidez and Callum Smith. And I think anyone listening to this and watching this would agree with that. It certainly would be a brutal fight, a good fight, a little bit of a chess match at the start, but then it's going to catch fire either way. And obviously, I'd back Callum, I'd fancy Callum in that fight. And if it happens, and if that's the next one we see, then it's going to be some fight. I can see,
Um,
obviously, if it's going to be happening, I can't see it being in the UK. I think it's going to be one that's obviously going to be in the States and whatever place it is. So then, therefore, Callum's going over as the away fighter. He's in the away corner. Benavidez will be obviously back home there. But obviously, that's not Callum hasn't done before. Liam, Stephen, or myself, or any other fighters that we know. You've got to go to the champion's backyard and try and take the belt off him there.
I mean, it's a type of fight you could imagine potentially being taken to Vegas. So, despite being, the B side of the fight, if you will, it's something which Callum could tick off headlining in Vegas. And how many fighters dream of being in that position?
Yeah, exactly. Headline in Vegas. He's fought at Madison Square Garden. He's fought in Texas as well. As I said before, the same as Liam. Listen, Stephen and me have both been on big shows in the States as well. And it's as a family, it's a brilliant thing to sort of sit back on and speak about in many years to come. But for Callum, the opportunity to fight at Vegas, as you say, top of the bill, or in New York or in LA or whatever it might be, again is brilliant. But to top the bill in a fight of that magnitude against an opponent of that level and that caliber, um, it'd be amazing. It'd be unbelievable. And obviously, I think Benavidez, I'm not sure what promotional setup is it, PBC, or is he? I don't know what channel or network it'll be on. But again, there's a chance for a lot of eyes to be on that fight, and have that many people watching you compete at that level is obviously another bonus. So some whatever he does, we back him 100%. I'll be right behind him. But it's exciting.
Speaking of Mexicans, Paul, somebody you guys and Liam Callum have very good knowledge of, Mr. Canelo Alvarez, getting ready for that Terence Crawford fight. On the back of Canelo's performance against William Skull, a few people have maybe started to see a shift in their initial opinion. Did you think, or do you believe rather, that seeing what we saw from Canelo against William Skull, that maybe there's a better chance, a better opportunity for Terence Crawford going into this fight than many thought previously?
Yeah, definitely. I thought that before this fight. To be honest with you, I'm not writing Canelo off. I think if you put a gun to my head and I had to put my mortgage on one of them, I'd probably pick Canelo still. But there's Crawford's a very, very, I can't even say live underdog because I'm not sure if he will be on fight night, but it's one of them fights. I think that the big one should beat the little one, but the little one is absolutely quality in Crawford, and it's one that I can't wait to see. I'll be very interested in the build up the fight week and to see if the respect stays there, because the respect levels are so high, and they should be, as they should, because they're both brilliant fighters, and the elite. When we talk about the elite in boxing, that's the elite. They are the elite. Um, but I can see it being like a chess match, and only like a chess match. It's not going to be a war, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware. And I think it's safe to say it's not going to be. I think it could be one for the purists, and I'm not going to say it's going to be a bad fight or a boring fight, but it's going to be. I thought Batavia Bivol won. Thought that was like a chess match. It was fantastic watching. It was edgy as seat for me as a boxer, an ex-boxer. I couldn't take my eyes off it, and I was engrossed in it. But it wasn't a bloodbath, and it wasn't a big tear up like everyone was expecting. But as soon as the bell went, I'd watch that again straight away. I'd watched that 3 times, and I think they'll all be like that type of fight. I can see this one being similar, being more of a chess match. Less blood and guts, less action, little decisive things here or there, little couple of rounds here or there that'll decide between, as I say, two very classy operators, and the level of, I hate using the word now because a lot of people use it in the wrong context, but the IQ on the both of them, and the intelligence, the ring intelligence, the ring craft, the ring awareness of both of them. There's not many on their level.
Usyk-Dubois 2, July 19th, repeat or revenge, Paul?
I can't see anything but repeat, but after country seems to be disagreeing with me on that one now, and everyone's all over Dubois and thinking he's going to knock him out. And I keep seeing this. a wrong that needs right, this injustice or something. I don't know what the injustice was, because what I watched was it was a fair win for Usyk, and the conservation event was a low blow. It is what it is. They're the rules of boxing, and the shot was ruled a low blow, and I feel it very much was a low blow. Again, I think if the referee would have started counting, Usyk could have jumped up and he'd have carried on with it. And people saying he's milked it, he's been it right in his plums or in his bladder. Of course, he's going to milk it. It's sore. He's entitled to 5 minutes. If he's hurt off the shot, which was low, then he's going to take as long as he needs to recover, so he's not hurt, so he doesn't give Dubois an advantage for an illegal blow. So it's all ifs and buts, isn't it? If the referee had started counting, I think that we'd have seen Usyk jump to his feet as quick as he could, and he'd have probably been okay, because he's Usyk, you know what I mean? And he's a different kettle of fish. I think he's absolutely brilliant for boxing. I think this could be probably the last time we see him in the ring if he wins or loses either way. I think he's done more than enough. We've just seen Lomachenko retire. It's whether Usyk wants to get out and bow out at the top, which I think he will, because I can't see there's any more real fights for him there anyway. But yeah, I can see another repeat. I can see Usyk always finding another gear, always finding the answer to whatever Dubois has, always being a step ahead and a level ahead. And should it come down to it and the going gets tough, then he's obviously got a track record of showing that he can outstand and outlast someone like Dubois.
Last one from me, Paul. Manny Pacquiao's return. What do you make of it? Do you give him any chance going into this Mario Barrios fight?
I think it's a joke. I think it's ridiculous. I've been very vocal about it on social media, on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. It's like all these fighters want to come back now, and you were finished 5, 10 years ago, and I just don't know what makes them think they're going to be better now. And the fact that he's walking back and he's going straight into a world title fight, how many fighters do we see having to travel abroad to get a quick win to come back so they can fight for the title next because they lost the last fight, or they're coming back after such a long layoff and they have to go and get one or two in just so they can get back in the rankings, and then all of a sudden he's announced he's coming back. And some people can say because of what he's done in the past, and what he's done in the past is absolutely frightening. His records speaks for itself. The titles he's won, the weights he's jumped through. But to be able to do what he's doing at his age, you know, it's it defies logic in my opinion, because I'm 42 and I feel every single one of them years of 42, I feel about 52 the way I am, and I didn't have a hundredth of his career. So today I was a pro for 15 years, and it's a long time, hard toll on your body. He turned pro a lot earlier, and he was a pro for a lot longer at the top level, going to the well in then big fights and then big training camps, and having in the wild card in LA and in the Philippines, all the camps that he's done, all the training that he's done, all the sparring that he's done, that takes its toll. To be able to still come back and do what he's doing now, I've got no idea why he's doing it. Only he'll know, but I'm not a fan of it now.
Paul, we'll leave that one there now, and I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. Get back to your family, enjoy your weekend, and thanks for speaking to me in Boxing News.
Thanks, Andy. Good speaking to you, mate. All the best.